Hello everyone. Our topic today is everything about climate change, given by our beloved teacher, Ma'am Ambilaw. Allow me to introduce my groupmate, Chenle Solares Jr., Miguel Portalio, and me, Jihad Galo Mangumpia. Okay, let's start to global warming. What is global warming? Global warming is the long-term heating of Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850 and 1900 due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increased heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. This term is not interchangeable with the term climate change. This is the result of billions of tons of carbon dioxide coming from coal-burning power plants and transportation, various air pollutants, and other gases accumulating in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide. What is carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is a chemical compound made up of molecules that each have one carbon atom covalently double-bonded to two oxygen atoms. It is found in the gas state at room temperature. In the air, carbon dioxide is transparent to visible light that absorbs infrared radiation, acting as a greenhouse gas. How does carbon dioxide cause global warming? Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. This means that it causes an effect like the glass in a greenhouse, trapping heat and warming up the inside. This effect is important without the CO2 that naturally exists in the atmosphere. Earth might be too cold to support human life. What is greenhouse effect? The greenhouse effect is a process that occurs after energy from a planet's host star goes through the planet's atmosphere and hits the planet's surface. How does greenhouse contribute to climate change? The greenhouse effect helps trap heat from the sun, which keeps the temperature on Earth comfortable, but people activities are increasing the amount of heat trapping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, causing the Earth to warm up. The greenhouse effect is responsible for recurring heat waves and long drought in certain places, as well as for heavier rainfall and devastating hurricane and typhoon in others. California had experienced its worst water shortage in 1,200 years due to global warming. This changed recently when storms brought rain in the drought-stricken areas. The result, however, is that the state is having some of its worst flash floods in the 21st century. In India and Southeast Asia, global warming altered the summer monsoon patterns, leading to intermittent flooding that seriously affected food production and consumption as well as infrastructure networks. Category 4 over 5 typhoons, like the Super Typhoon Haiyan that hit the central Philippines in 2013, had double and even triple in some areas of the Southeast Asian basin. Scientists claim that there will be more typhoon in the coming years. In the eastern United States, the number of storms had also gone up, with Hurricane Katrina 2005 and Hurricane Sandy 2012 being the worst. Glacier. A glacier is a large perennial accumulation of crystalline ice, snow, rocks, sediments, and often liquid water that originates on land and moves down slope under the influence of its own weight and gravity. Glaciers are melting every year since 2002, with Antarctica losing 134 billion metric of ice. Flooding has allowed more breeding grounds for disease carriers like the Aedes aegypti mosquito and the cholera bacteria. Aedes aegypti, the yellow fever mosquito, is a mosquito that can spread dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika fever, Mayaro, and yellow fever viruses. and other disease agents. The mosquito can be recognized by black and white marking on its legs and a mark in the form of a layer on the upper surface of its thorax. Combating global warming. More countries are now recognizing the perils of global warming. In 1992, countries signed the Kyoto Protocol to reduce greenhouse gases. Following the 1992 United Nations Earth Summit, where a framework convention for climate change was finalized, the protocol set targets but left it to the individual countries to determine how best they would achieve these goals. While some countries have made the necessary move to reduce their contribution to global warming, the United States, the biggest polluter in the world, is not joining the effort. Developing countries lack the funds to implement the protocol's guidelines, as many of them need international aid to get things moving. A 2010 World Bank report has concluded that the protocol only had a slight impact on reducing global emissions, in part because of the non-binding nature of the agreement. Kyoto Protocol. What is Kyoto Protocol? The Kyoto Protocol was an international treaty which extended the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change that commits states parties to reduce greenhouse gas emissions based on the scientific consensus that global warming is occurring and that human-made CO2 emissions are driving it. The follow-up treaty to the Kyoto Protocol is the Paris Accord, negotiated by 195 countries in December of 2015. It seeks to limit the increase in the global average temperature based on target goals as recommended by scientists, unlike the Kyoto Protocol, which has predetermined CO emission limits per country. The Paris Accord provides more leeway for countries to decide on their national targets. It largely passed as international legislation because it emphasizes consensus building, but it is not clear whether this agreement will have any more success than the Kyoto Protocol. Paris Accord. What is Paris Accord? The Paris Agreement, often referred to as the Paris Accords or the Paris Climate Accords, is an international treaty on climate change adopted in 2015. The agreement covers climate change mitigation, adaptation, and finance. Responding to climate change. Climate change is one of the greatest environmental challenges faced by societies. Today, it has significant implications on energy, food and water security, as well as health and safety for countries and people around the world. Over the years, the pan-European region has seen an increase in the rate and magnitude of extreme weather conditions as a result of longer dry periods and more frequent heat waves. Countries in the region are increasingly experiencing water stress, resulting in flower crop production and increasing wildfire storms and floods are also intensifying in both frequency and force, with far-reaching consequences for community across the region. New types of policies, partnerships, and instruments will be needed to scale up recent climate change efforts and address this growing challenge. The UN Environment Programme supports countries in addressing climate change through four main avenues: adaptation and building resilience to climate change, mitigation and moving towards low-carbon societies, reduction of emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, and finance for new models for the green economy.
A group of climate change organizations have
emissions of greenhouse gases.
Climate change is now happening.
Indonesia says it's
10 million tons of.
The Philippines tops a list of countries most susceptible to hazards caused by climate change.
Ito ang dahilan ng pagkakaroon ng mga bagyong gaya ng Super Typhoon Yolanda at bagyong Ondoy.
This is all wrong. You all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams, my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Is passing by too fast to recognize. Caught inside my mind, don't cut me loose this time. In between the space paths made of time and place, silence gets so loud to strangers in the crowd. Walls are torn.
There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable, and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us. But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you.
Thank you for listening and watching.